Let Doc have some time to log on. I think he's coming on. Yes, he's here. Hi, Doc. How are you? Wow, you look like you just came out of surgery.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us on the show. As I was telling the viewers, it's our 10th episode. We're so happy and so pleased to have you with us.
Great. Good to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah.
And, I also can't wait. Let's see what we can discuss today.
That's right. So Dr. Abdul Gafoor Mubarak is a consultant general and bariatric surgeon over at Island Hospital, Penang. And he's also sitting on many associations on the board of several key associations. Doc, let's talk a little bit about what you do over at Island Hospital, first of all. This catchword, bariatric surgery, very exciting.
Great. Okay, so as many of you may not be aware, but we have a problem with obesity in Malaysia. Because Malaysia is labeled as the most obese nation in the world. We even beat America. We are the champions of all champions, in terms of obesity. A very good label to have. So bariatric surgery deals with an aspect of surgery that treats patients with excessive weight gains and the complications that weight gains brings about. For example, if you are obese, you not necessarily only have got a problem with weight. You also have got a problem with diabetes and hypertension.
Yes.
About 70% of patients who are diabetic usually are overweight or obese. You also have got problems related to joint pains, namely in the knee, in the hips, in the shoulders, and in the elbows. And many of the women who come and see us because they have got problems related to infertility. That means they cannot conceive children despite being married for a long time. And also they got problems with their menses and they got hormonal issues related to being obese. So there are multifactorial reasons that actually are related to obesity. It's not purely just a weight problem, but it is a chronic disease. So many people perceive obesity as, number one, being a problem related to the person who is fat. So they always feel that, hey, the person who is obese because he eats a lot. No, you ask these people questions, you find that they eat very little actually, but their body adapts in a way that makes them fat much faster. Second is, we perceive obesity as a cosmetic problem. That means it is an aesthetic issue, but actually not. It is a chronic illness, just like how we treat diabetes, hypertension, asthma. So obesity is. And strangely enough, in our region, which is Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia, we find that the obesity rates in Malaysia is very high, but Malaysian obesity is still not recognized as a chronic disease and still as a cosmetic problem. So this is what we are trying to change very aggressively in terms of explaining to people what it is about and hoping that this trend will change. Yeah,
I can imagine you're very busy with all this.
Not bad.
Let's talk about the associations that you are part of, both in Malaysia and in the region of the Asia-Pacific.
Right, great. So in Malaysia, I am the executive member of the Society of Endo-Laparoscopic Surgeons of Malaysia, which is a society that has got one of the biggest number of surgeons performing keyhole surgeries. So most of our operations are performed by keyhole surgeries using a video, a telescope, and small holes. So with this, you heal faster, you go back to work faster, you don't have all the complications related to obesity, to open surgery. And I sit in the executive board for that. I am the founding member and also the vice president of the Malaysian Hernia Society. And hernia is a very common problem. It affects mainly men in 98% of the time. And any man, 1 in 4, will develop a hernia in their life. So it's a very good business to be in. So what you call it? I'm the vice president of the Malaysian Hernia Society, and we also deal with hernias that are occurring in other parts of the body, which is, for example, incisional hernias that occur after surgery, and also hernias that occur in women and things like that. Besides this, I'm also an executive member of the Malaysian Bariatric Society, which is my MBS, and I sit on a few international boards as well. The boards that I sit and I'm most excited about is I sit on the Digital Executive Committee of the ELSA board, the Endo-Laparoscopic Surgeons of Asia. So ELSA Digital Executive Board is a wing allocated by ELSA to basically come up with ideas in how we are forwarding our program in this digital age. Maybe we cannot meet and we cannot have conferences, but how do we disseminate information about surgery, and ELSA has me sitting in the board for that. I am I'm in the executive committee of what is known as the Asia-Pacific Hernia Society, the APHS. And our discussion today is also going to be about APHS, which we are organizing in 2023, 2022, depending on the timeline. And I sit in the executive board of what is known as the APHS, the Asia-Pacific Endo-Laparoscopic Society. And from Malaysia, I'm the only executive committee member. So I sit in these 3 or 4 international boards as well. So yeah, it's quite a mouthful, but
yeah, and it keeps you very busy, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So for our session today, we're talking about basically business events. For your experience, more towards medical conferences in particular. So let's go back in time a little bit before, we call it pre-COVID experiences. Maybe you can tell us some of the very, very exciting or interesting or innovative conferences you attended overseas.
Okay, so my experience with medical conferences, of course, began very early in my career in 2003, 2004. So I used to go for medical conferences and I used to attend medical meetings as much as possible. So pre-COVID, it's a very standard kind of a medical conference. You go for a medical conference, it's usually held in a 3 or a 4-star hotel. There are many people who are coming, and registering, and the delegates would have been people who have been sponsored by some company, and very few delegates will be those delegates that actually walk in and they themselves want to go for the meeting. Very few, during my time. And also I find that the interactions between the delegates and the conference organizers was very minimal. That means the conference organizers were not very worried about the quality of the meetings that they were providing. It was just something that they did because they had to do it, because there was a calendar and they had to follow it. So this was the routine that I saw. But I realized that one thing was happening. Number one, I found that the turnout for medical conferences was becoming more and more. Every year, I find the numbers were increasing. If this year you find 70 people, next year you find 100, then you find 120. So the numbers never dwindled down. And the other thing is, I found that industry players, for example, pharma companies, they want to get involved, but they don't seem to have an avenue to get involved. It wasn't a very structured way that they're doing it. It wasn't it's a very ad hoc thing. I mean, what I mean is, when you want to organize a meeting, you normally just ask your nurse, hey, which companies do we know? Please contact them. That's it. It's not a very structured thing. So in 2018, what happened was the biggest conference in Malaysia was actually the College of Surgeons in Malaysia. And this was the yearly conference that was being held, and it was quite a big meeting. I was, frankly speaking, very bored to attend this meeting because I find there's nothing, exciting for me to go. It's always the same thing. And there's nothing exciting. And I always ask myself, if I am thinking this way, I'm sure other people are also thinking this way as well. I'm hungry for something new. I want to get a new experience when I go for this kind of meetings. And I find that I didn't have any exposure to overseas meeting because when I was in government service, it wasn't easy to go for overseas conferences and things like that. But one day, on the advice of a colleague of mine, I thought I will attend a meeting in the Philippines. I've never attended any meetings before that out of Malaysia. So I went for the meeting, I paid on my own, and it really opened my eyes in the sense that I realized that, hey, these conferences can be held in a very exciting way that engages people and makes people feel that, this is a very exciting platform for them to be in. For example, the education that is provided can be very cutting edge technology. Give me a minute, sorry. Pasal apa? Yeah, give me a minute, Chris. It's an answer call.
Yeah, so we'll give Dr. Abdul Gafoor some time to deal with this patient. And it's getting exciting, yeah? That's why we want to share with all our audience, the business events professionals, how we can actually get some ideas from even overseas counterparts on how to make the conference more exciting.
Yeah, great. Sorry, Chris. I did a few surgeries in the morning, so I have to keep track of what's going on.
Yes, yes.
So I realized that in the Philippines, number one, the material that was being provided was very exciting. Number one, it was new things that were being done, and the investment was in quality of program. That means the itinerary and the quality and the scientific program was good quality stuff. I will purposely go for those talks, But many of those talks in Malaysia, when I went before, I just go sign my name, take my points, and that's it. I'm out the door. And then I come back to collect my certificates and I'm done. I don't like going for the talk because nothing there excites me, But this one excites. How does it excite you? Number one is cutting edge technology. So you must have topics that are trending in time.
Yes.
It cannot be a mundane thing. Number two, you must have good speakers that are known to people. So, for example, you may know your friend. You say, "Oh, my friend, he is a very good surgeon. He can operate very well. He can talk very well. I've heard him talk." But nobody else knows your friend. So if you put up your friend in the program, nobody else is going to come and listen to him. You see. But if you put up somebody that is world renowned, whole world knows him. I want to come and see him because it's like if you're a surgeon and you read about a world-class surgeon in a book or in a journal, and you get a chance to meet him face to face in a meeting, you'll go for the meeting, you see. It's exciting. That's number two. Number three is the aesthetics of the meeting. It has to be, of course, housed in a very attractive environment. That means it must be in a good hotel. And this is where the generation of revenue comes in. The sense of the sense of being, exclusive, luxurious, it's nice. Number two, the conference venue itself. It has to have that look of a conference venue. It cannot just be, a day one that has been renovated as a conference venue, or a badminton hall that has, that you do weddings. It doesn't work that way.
Yes.
So it has to play its role. And the aesthetics of the conference must depict the theme of it. For example, if it is a medical meeting, it must be cutting edge technology. You cannot be arranging it with flowers and making it look like, a wedding. It doesn't make sense, So I realized that all these things when I went to the Philippines, I think it was in Cebu, when I went, I said, hey, we don't seem to have this in Malaysia, when our meetings are so mundane, it's not there. And it's very sad because we have such strong figures to showcase in Malaysia, actually. So that was the meetings that I basically have been. So, of course, now that I am part of so many societies, I get a lot of chance to attend a lot of meetings. Now, of all the meetings that I've attended, I can tell you very easily, the most exciting meeting for me was the one that we organized in KL. That was the most exciting. I find that we took all these lessons that I mentioned, and we put it into one conference, and that's why it was very exciting for me. And it was a very exciting time for us as Malaysians at that time, because the government had changed. We had finished our elections, in 2019 or whatever, during 2018.
18.
We had kicked out the old government. We had we didn't know what's going to happen. We didn't know that they will change again. But at that time, the spirit in the country was, now we've got a chance to reboot. Let's do everything proper again. So that time we had it. So if you ask me, that was one of the more exciting meetings that I've attended.
Amazing, yeah. That's actually why we want to have this show, to talk about what we can learn from other people and overseas and so forth, and your various experiences and many other conferences. Bring that together so that we can bring up, the level. So in Kuala Lumpur at that time, how many participants or delegates did you manage to attract for ELSA 2018?
Okay, we had about 1,000. We had 1,900 delegates.
That's a lot. And how many countries, if you can remember?
I think 24 countries.
That's world class already,
24 countries. And the good thing about what we did was, you see, ELSA is an international organization. So ELSA, basically, the history of it is the meeting was subcontracted to another organizing committee that was unable to fulfill the obligation. So it fell on our lap about 4 months before the meeting actually.
My goodness.
4 months. And prior to that, why it fell on our lap is because, when I came back from Cebu, right, we wanted to organize a meeting in Malaysia, and I was made chairman of that particular meeting. So I realized that, we've got a potential here. So what I did was I decided to first take away the meeting from KL, bring it outside KL first. I realized that you have to start small. You have to be more in control of your environment so that you can grow your client base before you move to a bigger playing field. So we had it in Penang. And we had it in straight ski in the Penang.
Yes.
Yeah. Why I had it in straight ski? Because I had gone there for a comedy show, and I realized that, it's a very nice place to have a meeting.
The big hall on the top, eh? Yes.
And the acoustics are very good. The sound system is very nice. It's built for, and the ambience of the place is very nice, and all that. Right. And so when we did it, we didn't save much money. That means when we had to spend, we spent. We spent on the best food, on the best speakers. In fact, we had speakers flying in from Spain, speakers from Singapore, from the UK, and all this was done. And yet, after doing all this, we turned around a profit of about 200 over 1,000 ringgit, which was unheard of in those days, for medical meetings. Unheard of. You won't hear of anyone saying that. They realize, we are doing something right. Everyone had very good things to say. Oh, we never saw this before. Oh, now only we knew that this type of treatments are available and we want to learn. And we sparked off a revolution among young doctors to actually pick up minimal or, keyhole surgery and broaden their horizons to actually get training where they are supposed to get training. All right. So since we performed well during the Penang conference, we were approached by ELSA to organize ELSA when the first committee could not deliver. And we had 4 months. So in 4 months, we found that, number one, we were there at the right time, at the right place, because Malaysians doctors were very hungry for these kind of events. They were very quiet, but they were very hungry for it. Malaysian, we are not very vocal people,
Yes.
We orang kata makan dalam. That means if we feel something, we will keep it to ourselves. So very hungry. So we had sold out. We sold out Penang even before the meeting started, and we sold out ELSA. Now, what do we do with the other people who want to come? Because ELSA is not going to come. It's like organizing a small Commonwealth Games in Malaysia. It won't come all the time.
Yes.
But we want as many people to gain benefit as possible. This is where I think the values of being Malaysian comes out. We provided almost 600 free entry for people who want to come. The only contingency we told them is, if possible, don't eat, because we only prepared food for so many people. But in my experience, all these people ate, and there were no restrictions, and we had enough to go around for everybody. So what I want to say here is, when you do something international or when you organize something, you must keep true to our values, and that goes a long way, you know. So we had about 1,800 from about 20 over countries, and very well received. We organized it over 3 days, where we had our faculty dinner in KL Tower. We had our faculty dinner in KL Tower, which was quite nice. And okay, this is where we were different from other people. Number one, the main people that supports us during meetings, of course, are the delegates, but they are the industry players. So what we did was, during our social events, for example, our faculty dinners, in fact, even our gala dinners, we had it in a place that the industry players can join us.
Yeah.
So the industry players felt that, hey, this is the only meeting we are going for, where we are invited for these dinners, you know, and it was a big hit. You know, industry players stayed back, they had a good time, and the next thing you know, they're asking us, when is the next meeting?
Yes, and they're your sponsors, I imagine.
Correct. When do we get involved? And when I spoke to the industry players, the sponsors, they said, Doctor, this was the busiest meeting we ever had. Our reps never sat down. We signed so many contracts. So we are happy that our money is well spent. So you have to realize that sponsors are not giving you money because they like you. Sponsors are not giving you money because you're a nice person. They are giving you money because they perceive your platform as something for them to make more business.
Yes.
You provide the environment for them to make more business. They will come back to you again and again.
You have the right idea. You captured their intention.
Yeah, so you have to think about them. You know, you have to provide that environment that is rich for their, what you call it, business to thrive. Okay, so I think we did that. And then, so free registrations, inclusion of industry players into your social events. Number 3, showcase local talent. Cut across all the red tape, cut across all the racial, social boundaries and all that. Whoever has got a platform, or whoever is necessary, whoever you deem is qualified to say something about a topic, bring them in and showcase young local talent. Build the young pool so that you know you have a generation to fall back on. And number 4, which I think is very important, is to hold true to our Malaysian values, which goes a long way. For example, we always, during meetings, acknowledge surgeons who have contributed tremendously to the country in the past, and we honor them. These are cultures that are very unique to us. You know, we always respect our elders, you know, and we always remember, you know, we don't forget. And I think that you have to hold through. I think the lessons that I feel that we have to provide whenever we organize conferences in Malaysia is these main things. But we cannot lose sight that we have to provide a quality conference.
Yes.
That means the venue, the food, the drinks, the alcohol, it only goes to some extent. You must provide good content. Your content must be high quality, you know, it must be good quality content. Only then people are not stupid. If they're going to pay 200 ringgit to come for your meetings, they will go through your content. They will see, what am I paying for? You know, so this is one thing that was disregarded before in medical meetings, but I think now is gaining popularity now. You can see that after we organized ELSA, Malaysia became a hub to a lot of other international meetings, you know.
Yes,
it opened up the eyes of a lot of international people to the fact that, hey, these fellas can actually organize something and they're quite good at it. You know, we all have a good time. I think a few other meetings transpired, and I think we are heading towards the World Surgical Congress coming up in the next year or so, I think. So, you know, it's all good for the country, I guess.
And also, of course, Malaysia always offers great value for money, yeah?
Correct. I think that this is where we shine. So for ELSA, for example, the deal is after we finish and we pay off all our bills and all, the profit is shared between ELSA and us. And ELSA has, I can't divulge the amount, but ELSA has made the most money they've ever made in any meeting that they've ever organized, and it has never been replicated until now. That means no one can even come close to how much money Malaysia gave back to ELSA. And ELSA is asked, and of course, ELSA, if they have a chance to host it again in Malaysia, they will say, yeah, we want to go there.
Yes, yes.
And the same players who organize ELSA are the same players are in APHS. So when Malaysia had the opportunity to bid for APHS, we were very new to APHS. I was the first executive member and we're only 2 years old. And you've got people sitting in APHS for the past 15, 16 years. But we were given priority to host, mainly because we have a track record. Which is
Yes, that's true.
So
important. Now we fast forward from pre-COVID to March 2020 and all the way up to today is already more than about 1.5 years now. The nature of our medical conferences and online seminars and talks have changed. So I'm sure you have been also speaking and being part of many of those online virtual ones as well.
Yes, I have. So I find that the virtual meetings are very interesting because it can, number one, bridge the gap between speakers from very far locations on one platform. So you have a very wide berth of knowledge, on one platform. Number two, it is definitely cheaper than to fly someone down, host them in a hotel, do the meeting, spend some money on them, and so it's definitely cheaper. Cheaper. Now, the drawback here is this. Number one, you are dependent on the bandwidth of your country. Malaysia is not so bad, but can be better. Can be better. So when you're discussing bandwidth, most of our education is based on videos. So if there is a lag on our video, it's very difficult for us to teach people what they are seeing if there is a lag. Number two, I find that our conferences, especially done online, it tries to cover too many topics in one small sitting. And because you are online, you cannot gauge what the audience actually wants. So it is difficult for a speaker like myself to try to understand how much of emphasis I have to put on specific things when I'm doing an online this one. So I think that an online platform has got its benefits. Whether I prefer it or not, no. I definitely prefer the face-to-face interactions, and I prefer the complexities that puts you on the spot when you are standing on the podium alone and people are asking you questions. I enjoy that. I find that this is where the proof of the pudding, is how it tastes lah. Yes. If you say that you are good at it, then you better be able to answer. So that you cannot do on Zoom. You can hide behind the screen. You are still a keyboard warrior. You see, but I find that moving forward, I find that the way forward for conferences, for medical conferences, is going to be a hybrid kind of a thing. That means there's going to be some input from speakers from very far locations who are unable to come, but these are all vital people for the meetings, number one. Number two, I think that it's going to be held in smaller groups. So it's going to be more small groups in small spaces as compared to big groups in big spaces. It's going to be more targeted, because I don't think that anytime soon we are going to come out of COVID, and I don't think that it's going to be something that will vaccine and all will dramatically change things. No, I think we will still be in small groups. But I think the biggest change here is going to come in industry players. How will industry players and sponsors come into this new era of meetings and conferences? How will they choose? I think the sponsors will have to decide whether they want to get involved on the digital aspect of the meeting or the physical aspect of the meeting. Yeah. And I will find that there will be some people who will be more tuned to digital aspect. Some clients will be more tuned to the physical aspect. For example, Starbucks lah. Not everyone likes to have kopi ice in Starbucks. Some people will still go to the normal coffee shop and have kopi ice there, and some people will
Mhm.
still go to Starbucks and
Mhm.
have coffee there. You have two distinct crowds. So the industry players have to decide, okay, how do I now, because at the end of the day, sponsors want to use your platform to sell their products.
Yes.
So how do I use your conference to sell my products?
Mhm.
Just because I have a presence in your conference doesn't mean that that presence translates into me selling anything. But if you are on a digital platform, maybe your interactions might be more with the people who are on the digital platform during the live conference. You can engage your clientele more, build up a database,
Mhm.
interact with them in a more, how do I say, progressive manner and things and so
Mhm.
on. So these are the differences that I feel are more apparent.
Mhm.
If you ask me, I find that there is a fatigue now in digital meetings. People are
Yes.
tired, letih. They are tired. And you can find that most of the meetings are held on a single platform, which is Zoom.
Mhm.
And Zoom requires you to register before they send you a link. And then a link is given where you wait in a waiting area and you're pushed into a Zoom room and then you can watch.
Mhm.
You can't do this on Facebook because you cannot collect any payments if you are doing it on Facebook. For example, you can do it on Google Meets and Microsoft meetings and all that, but
Mhm.
Zoom seems to be the more this one.
Popular.
But the platform is good, but I think the access into it is very mundane and boring. So people now are tired of registering again and again and again, and then after they register they pay online payment and wait for the email. The email may go into your spam, you may delete your email, then you ask the organizer, can you resend back? People are tired of these things lah. So I think you have to gauge your crowd and you have to decide moving forward what type of conferences would you going to have. Are you going to have purely a physical conference, purely a online conference, or a hybrid? I
Mhm.
think it's going to be a hybrid, and the
Yes.
hybrid is going to skew more towards online.
Uh-huh.
That means there's going to be a very limited number of people on site.
Mhm. Mhm.
So how do you sell something that is online, and you add value to it? This is, I think, the challenge that you guys have to come up with.
Yes, yes. So some people will be in the hall there live, and the rest are watching like a cast, broadcast.
Correct, correct,
But those who are far away, it's convenient for them because they don't have to travel to the
correct,
host country,
correct, correct,
and they can still be a delegate or a participant.
correct.
Well, let's fast forward, Doc. Let's fast forward to Asia-Pacific Hernia Society 2023. That's big news for us here in Penang.
Yeah, great.
Tell us, tell
Yeah,
us a
great.
little bit
So
about that.
we managed to win the bid. We outbid Vietnam and Japan, and
Wow.
I think another country also. Vietnam, Japan, and the other country was Thailand. Yeah, I think
Wow.
we outbid
That's
other
amazing.
countries.
That's an amazing achievement. And
Yeah,
when
great.
was this bidding done?
It was done in Bali in 2019, just
I
before,
see. So it
just
was won in
before, just before COVID.
2019. And then
So
was it supposed to be this year or it was supposed to be
supposed to be next year, but I think it's
next?
pushed by 1 year. So I think it's
Yes.
coming in 2023,
Mhm.
and very excited that Penang is going to be the host for it.
Wonderful.
And we are expecting about 1,600 people for hernia.
That's
And
huge.
hernia is something that we're very excited about because it's a very evolving field. Many people like to do it, and we
Mhm.
find that the financial remunerations for this also will be very good. And
Mhm.
we find that industry players for sponsors will be very excited because hernia is a very big field.
I see.
So we can't wait. Basically, we are more than, we have the expertise to do it. We know we can put on a good show, and we know that we have the population and the people who will appreciate what we do, and they will come.
That's great.
If we put up a good show, they will come. So and Penang is of course very ideal because we have got wonderful food, We've got good people, we've got good things for them to see, and everything is very accessible. And the aura and the environment around Penang is also very nice to have meetings.
Yes.
And yeah, I basically see that there's nothing stopping this from being a good show.
Wonderful. So you are heading the organizing committee for this conference?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And the committee is working together with PCO, Professional Congress Organizer?
Yeah, at the moment we have one.
Yes.
We find that our PCO is now very, very valuable, and we cannot do without them anymore. And at every aspect of our decision, you know, they've become very valuable, and we are working, we've got very good relationships with them. So if you are a professional society, it's very important that you have a good relationship with your PCO, because there are so many things that you have in your mind, but you cannot materialize it.
That's right.
PCO can materialize it. And there are so many things that your PCO has in their mind, but they cannot conceptualize it, and you can conceptualize it. And it's very nice to interact with them. You know, I've had a wonderful relationship with Casey and his gang, so I think it only get better.
Because basically you have to remember, most of the committee members are full-time doctors, surgeons like yourself. You have limited time to go and do all these things hands-on, right? So you need a good PCO to run the show.
Because you need to be able to do what you do best.
Yes.
So as surgeons, we need to be able to operate or teach people how to operate.
Yes.
If you take away the headaches that we have regarding budget, regarding people, regarding logistics and all, we can do our jobs much better.
That's right.
So I think it's very important for doctors to realize this, that you cannot organize a conference like you're organizing a birthday party or a wedding. It's not the same.
Yes, yes. Many details.
Yeah, just because you organize a wedding with 2,000 people doesn't mean you can organize a medical conference with 2,000. It's two different aspects, you know. So a good PCO, and we are very lucky because we have been working with the same one all this while, and we're very lucky because the AF has helped us throughout, and we have grown tremendously with them, and we only hope to grow more.
Wonderful. Let's take a little sip of coffee for a break, and we'll go on to the Facebook live broadcast right now and see who's on the show with us. I can see, Doc, that you are a wonderful speaker. You really got the gift of the gab. I'm sure you're a very popular choice for speaking at conferences. I can feel that.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, I see Leon is on the show. Leon Tan, welcome. Tricia is here. Several other wonderful friends who are watching online. Let's go and see if there are any questions that came in. Okay, there's one question. Some medical associations are hesitant to host physical hybrid events as they are concerned over SOP. What is your opinion on that?
Okay, we have to understand that, of course, primary concern is COVID and saving lives. But having said that, we cannot carry on like this anymore. You know, we have to find a way to strike a balance between living with COVID and getting our job done. So living with COVID is a conference is a very, how do I say, incubator kind of an environment that the virus can spread. But you have to take several measures to ensure that the virus, even if it's there, it is not, if it's going to be there, it's not like it's going to go away or what. Even if it's there, it's not able to propagate as much as it would like to. So, number one, I think vaccination is the key. So you have to make sure that all your delegates are vaccinated.
Yes.
Number two is your social distancing relaxation can occur in stages. We are at 2 meters and we can become at 1 meter, half a meter, and all that. You have to make sure that your conference room is suitable for quick sanitization. For example, a quick turnaround in between your talks. You know, you finish, send people out to have their food and all that, clean up the room, and you bring them back in. Number four, I think it's very important that if you have a a patient that is positive within your conference, don't take it as a big failure, you know, don't take it like, you know, it's a disaster has occurred. It's bound to happen, but contain the problem lah, you know, you screen whoever is around them and, you know, you just carry on with the meetings as normal. So I think in COVID, conferences, on-site conferences have to go on because there is so much more that you can learn on-site than you can learn virtually. You can basically grasp concepts better if you are on-site rather than you are doing on a virtual platform. So I think that the on-site conferences somehow or other will carry on, regardless of how this thing goes on with vaccination, with medical treatment with COVID. We will have numbers might be smaller, not as our regular numbers, 1,000, 2,000 in a hall. Numbers will be smaller, but it will go on with some modifications. And those that I mentioned before are the ones that would be key.
I see. Thank you so much. You've got a couple more questions. Is there any breakthrough in medical technology for you to foresee as part of the new trends in the industry? Medical breakthrough, medical technology.
I think Malaysia still hasn't hosted a robotic conference yet.
Robotic surgery, you mean?
Yeah, Malaysia still hasn't hosted any robotics yet. This will be a good thing to go into, you know. I'm sure the one asking me is asking me which avenue they should go into for medical. I think robotics is very good. But having said that, the regular, what do you call it? How do I say, reliable conferences where you know people will come are the conferences in medicine that have got the highest value. So for example, the highest value I think in Malaysia still remains in orthopedics because of industry players.
Okay, not cardiac, huh?
Second will be cardiac. Also because of industry players. Third, I think will be us, you know, something like minimal invasive laparoscopy and all that. And fourth will be things like eye, you know, kidneys and all that. So you have this wide berth of areas that is ever changing. What I say today might be different tomorrow. That is basically what medicine is all about. And now you have got this exciting new field of vaccination, virology, that everybody wants to learn new technologies in vaccines and all that. And why not? I think Malaysia is primed to be a good area to share these kind of conferences and information.
That's great. So Doc, I want to thank you once again for being on the show with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our 10th show here on Coffee Break with PCEB with Dr. Abdul Gafoor, and thank you for your time, Doc.
Thank you. Take care.
You really shared some great information with us, and we will be coming back to inform you about the great new exciting concept coming up for the show, and look out for the latest updates on our PCEB Facebook page. Take care, Doc.
Take care.
Bye. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.